Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heat is gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! Oh, he hit it! Ja Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies got a buzzer-beating game winner from Ja Morant last Thursday to beat the Miami Heat. Then they followed that up with a road victory without Ja Morant against the Detroit Pistons. And now they are currently tied with four other Western Conference teams with 32 losses. Entering the final week of the season, the Nuggets, Warriors, Clippers, Grizzlies, and Timberwolves all have 32 losses. So on today's episode, I'm going to go over the current standings, the exciting final week of the season that's coming up. I'm also going to talk, of course, about both of those games. Also, a little bit of business. If you're watching on YouTube, you notice my background is changed. You also might have noticed there wasn't a Grizzlies win edition episode on Friday after the Heat game. That's because some of the storming that hit Nashville ended up flooding my basement where I record the podcast. So I'm going to have a temporary background for just a little bit. Also, the episodes might be a little bit briefer, a little bit broader, hopefully just as in-depth and entertaining, but I'm sure you will bear with me. Thank you for being a watcher or listener. Thanks especially to those of you who support the show at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, let's start just with the story of the last few days of what's been going on with the Grizzlies. Everything that's been going on since I last did an episode. There's been a lot. First of all, of course, there's the Ja Morant game winner, the 27-point second half from Ja Morant. He gets the walk-off buzzer beater. Also in that game, Ja Morant once again made his three-point celebration with the finger guns, and he got in trouble with the NBA after getting warned about this. This entire story, it is, on the one hand, it's childish from Ja Morant to still do it when he was told not to with his history of the off-the-court stuff. Also, it seems peculiar that the NBA has decided to focus on this right now when he and other players have been doing this all season. So that's become a story. Then ESPN released a pretty long article about the firing of Taylor Jenkins. There was some notable and interesting things in there that I had never heard before. Notably, the fact that Tomas Isolo and also Noah LaRoche were both very highly paid assistants. Each one of them had seven-figure salaries, according to this story, so that was interesting. Then the Grizzlies followed up the win against the Heat with this really impressive win against the Pistons, where Ja Morant was a very late scratch due to food poisoning. I was worried he picked up whatever Vince Williams Jr. has been dealing with. Vince Williams Jr. has missed the last two games with illness, but despite Ja missing the game, the Grizzlies beat a good Pistons team that is in the middle of their own playoff seeding race right now. In that game, it was notable for the Pistons because Jalen Duren was not available. Also, it was Cade Cunningham's return from injury. Perhaps he played fewer minutes than he otherwise normally would have. Cade also said he was sick after the game. But no Jalen Duren meant the Pistons were shorthanded on their front line, and Zach Edey absolutely ate in this game. Zach Edey got a Grizzlies rookie record 21 rebounds against the Pistons. He also picked up a career high 6 assists. Meanwhile, Desmond Bane had his second highest point total of the season with 38 points. And the Grizzlies get an important road win. And then I think for Grizzlies fans on Sunday, also for fans of other Western Conference teams, we were helped out by some other squads as the Warriors lost to the Rockets and the Nuggets lost to the Pacers. So I guess let's turn it back to Ja Morant's second half against the Heat. This was, of course, Tomas Isolo's first win as a head coach. In the first half, the Grizzlies were struggling to score once again. They got off to a very slow start as the Heat jumped out to an early 9-point lead. But the Grizzlies, for the second straight game, completely shortened the rotation. Only 8 players were involved, with the exception of the 1 minute and 46 seconds that Lamar Stevens played in the first half. So this was the second straight game where Isolo had gone with just 8 guys playing. It was the same 8 guys playing. The starters, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Zach Edey, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jalen Wells. Meanwhile, off the bench, Scottie Pippen Jr., Santi Aldama, and Luke Kennard. It was yet another game where Scottie Pippen Jr. came up huge off the bench. It was another game where Luke Kennard wasn't really looking for his shot. He had 3 points, made 1 3-pointer in his 22 minutes. But the story of the game was Ja Morant essentially taking over. Also, in the fourth quarter of this game, you had some offensive droughts occur once again. The overall numbers turned out all right for the quarter, but there was a long scoreless stretch in this fourth quarter. Desmond Bane missed all 7 of his field goal attempts. Jaren Jackson Jr. was 1 for 5 from the field in this fourth quarter. But luckily, Ja Morant had enough in the tank. Also, Scottie Pippen and Jalen Wells made some big clutch shots. Also, Santi Aldama made a clutch shot in this one. And the Grizzlies called 12 at the end of the game. Some other notable storylines before I move on to some other stuff. I think we have to talk about Isolo's handling of foul trouble. This was something that had become like a little pet peeve of mine with Taylor Jenkins. One of my go-to things was just not understanding why he was so strict when it came to foul trouble, why you would save guys for the quote-unquote crunch time when the game was hanging in the balance, when it seemed apparent if you didn't play Ja or Jaren or whomever, there wasn't going to be a crunch time that mattered. So in this game, Ja Morant somewhat, I would say irresponsibly, picks up multiple fouls. He had 4 fouls in the third quarter. That's foul trouble. Now, many of them were on-purpose frustration fouls. He was getting into it with the referees. Stan Van Gundy on the TNT broadcast was criticizing him for his overall demeanor and the way he was playing. But maybe it worked. The frustration fouls led to Ja Morant turning it up for that 27-point second half. But despite having 4 fouls, Isolo puts Ja back in the game at the end of the third quarter, and Ja plays most of the rest of the way. Then Jaren, who played nearly 22 of the 24 possible minutes in the second half, he picked up his 5th foul with 6 minutes left. He didn't go to the bench. He stayed in. So right here we have Tomas Isolo doing something that Taylor Jenkins hardly ever did. Now, we do not have proof positive that Taylor Jenkins would not have done this. Also, we don't even know that Taylor Jenkins wouldn't have shortened his rotation for these must-win games. I was surprised the rotation wasn't shortened more against the Warriors because I thought that was essentially a do-or-die game. But I think, regardless of whoever the coach was going to be, probably for this stretch run right now, with a trip to the playoffs or the play-in on the line, I think they would have also shortened the rotation if it was Taylor Jenkins. But now Isolo has done it, and a big kudos to Isolo for playing guys while they had foul trouble. Anyways, after the win and then subsequent fine for Ja Morant, he got fined $75,000 for the gun celebration. Again, I don't know how much it really matters if the NBA is going to keep escalating these fines. Is he at risk of getting suspended? I can't imagine they could suspend him for this celebration that, once again, almost everyone does. And I know it's different because Ja Morant has had the issues with the firearms off the court and being irresponsible with them and putting them on social media and, of course, promising the commissioner he would never do it again. I'm not ignorant to that. It's just an interesting thing that they picked up at this point. But anyways, moving to the Pistons game, we can give a little bit of a love for Desmond Bane in this one. And also, we didn't get to see if Ja Morant would be able to help himself by not doing the celebration when he makes a three-pointer. But with no Ja Morant, they kind of went with a 7-man rotation. They had 7 primary players, plus they dusted off a few guys. You had Gigi Jackson returning to the rotation. He got 11 minutes of playing time. He unfortunately missed all 5 of his field goal attempts. To his credit, to Gigi's credit, while going 0 for 5 in his return to the rotation, he was attacking. He was trying to draw contact. He just wasn't getting the benefit of the referee's whistle in this game. But also, Jay Huff played a few minutes. Even Cam Spencer came in. Cam Spencer played 5 huge minutes in the fourth quarter. He hit a big fourth quarter three-pointer. The Grizzlies started the fourth quarter against the Pistons with 3 rookies, and then the should-have-been Summer League MVP in Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jaren Jackson Jr. And it worked out for them. They went on a nice run. They end up putting the game away mainly due to the heroics of Desmond Bane. Desmond, after struggling against the Heat and only making 6 out of his 23 field goal attempts, including 1 for 9 from the three-point line, Desmond was 15 for 23 from the field against the Pistons and scored 38 points. Desmond Bane's career high was last season against the Pistons. He had 49 points. Desmond Bane's scoring totals for his last 3 games against the Pistons, 38, 2, and then 49. Somewhat interestingly, after scoring a career-high 49 against the Pistons in his next matchup against Detroit, the first game against the Pistons this year, he only scored 2. And then he bounced back with 38 on Saturday. Jaren pitched in 27 points and 11 rebounds. Jalen Wells, only 1 for 8 from the field, had 7 points. But Scottie Pippen in the start, 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, plus 2 blocks and a steal. He did turn the basketball over 6 times. And then our guy, Zach Edey. Got to talk more about Zach Edey, who, to his credit, has been doing the things he's good at. And I think to the coaching staff's credit, they have only, I think, been asking him to do those things that he's good at. The things he's not good at, he still struggled with them in this great game for him against the Pistons. While he had 21 rebounds, breaking big country Bryant Reeves' Grizzlies record for a rookie. It's the most rebounds any rookie has had in the NBA this season. While he had those 21 rebounds and those 6 assists, he still missed a lot of easy makeable shots. He still is bricking these hooks from like 5 or 6 feet away from the basket, as opposed to either making them or powering towards the basket and making a dunk or a layup or getting free throws out of it. He's shooting 40% for the season from 3 to 10 feet away from the basket. Despite having elite numbers on 0 to 3 feet, his overall shot chart on NBA.com, he's not even excellent in any area, and he's below average at most areas of the court. That's a disappointment for me. However, when he is struggling to convert on these short hooks, when he's struggling to catch the pass or to even know that his teammate is passing to him. In this Pistons game where he had 21 rebounds and 6 assists, there was a time where he had his guy sealed. All he was thinking about was rebounds. Scottie Pippen Jr. throws him a great bounce pass. I think it was Scottie. Someone threw him a great bounce pass. It went out of bounds because Edey didn't know the first thing about it. So despite that awareness not being there, despite his finishing not being there, he's being used at just inhaling rebounds, and when he gets those rebounds, kicking them back out to shooters. And because of the shortened rotation, he's getting a longer look, and it's paying off. All season, he's had these elite offensive rebounding numbers. Against the Pistons specifically, with no Jalen Duren and with Isaiah Stewart in foul trouble, they had Asar Thompson playing center. They didn't have a chance. And that's how the Grizzlies win this game, despite getting destroyed in fast break points. The Pistons had 25 fast break points. The Grizzlies had 2. The second chance scoring for the Grizzlies really helped them out. Also, the Grizzlies just basically overall, they haven't been forcing turnovers at a very good rate. But the way Edey's playing and also their dependence right now on the shortened rotation is giving the Grizzlies the results they need. And speaking of the results they need, let's look at the standings. Let's wrap up this a little bit shorter episode talking about the standings. The Grizzlies, by getting that win over the Pistons, improve their record to 46-32. That's the same record right now as the Clippers, the Warriors, and the Timberwolves. We're talking about a 4-way tie. The Grizzlies, unfortunately, are last. In the 4-way tiebreaker, they are last. If the season ended right now, they would be the 8th seed. They would have to go on the road and play the Timberwolves in the 7-8 play-in game, which honestly is not that bad of a result, because if it was the Clippers or Warriors as the 7th seed, I mean, not only am I more scared of the Clippers and Warriors, but that would mean the Grizzlies would have to fly cross-country for that one game. That one game is going to be next Tuesday. The 7-8 play-in in the West, where there's a very good chance the Grizzlies end up in that game, that's going to be on Tuesday, April 15th. If that occurs, you can find me at Noble's Beer Hall in Nashville, Tennessee for a Grizzlies watch party for that. But I think it's better in this scenario staying in Central Time. Flying up to Minnesota seems preferable to flying to LA or San Francisco. And then if you lose, you have to fly back home, deal with that west to east jet lag, and play a do or die game. But right now, the way things are set up with the schedule, and with those 4 teams all having the same record, and also with the Nuggets having 32 losses, the Nuggets are a half game ahead of all these teams. They're 47-32. Here's the long and short of it. If the Grizzlies win out, if the Grizzlies win their final 4 games, which is Tuesday against the Hornets on the road, then Thursday against the Timberwolves, absolutely massive national TV game, then Friday, a back-to-back, an absolutely massive game on the road against the Nuggets, and then you finish with a home game against the Mavericks. If you win all 4 of those games, the worst you can finish is 5th. I think I've done this math correct. If the Grizzlies go 4-0, obviously they will finish 50-32. That will mean they will beat the Timberwolves and Nuggets, meaning the best those teams could finish would be 49-33. The Clippers and Warriors both play each other. They both play each other in the last game of the season. So that means one of those teams, best they could finish would be 49-33. So among those 5 teams with 32 losses right now, if the Grizzlies win out, the worst they could finish is 5th. So these losses that were suffered by the Warriors and Nuggets on Sunday, absolutely huge for the playoff hopes of the Grizzlies. Now, I don't know what the odds are that the Grizzlies win all 4 of their final games. I think it's much more likely they go 2-2 in their last 4 games. Maybe 3-1, but you hope you don't trip up against the Hornets. But you win the Hornets game, you win the last home game against the Mavericks. The Mavericks have things to play for. The Mavericks are trying to get home court in that 9-10 game. They're also trying to hold off the Suns, who technically still have a chance to catch them, although it's a very, very faint chance. But the Mavericks have something to play for. But let's say you win the Hornets, you win the Mavericks, then that back-to-back against the Timberwolves and Nuggets, it's scary, but hopefully you can get a split out of that. Like, the Nuggets aren't a free fall. The Nuggets are in a, I would say, Grizzlies-esque slump, despite the Grizzlies having a winning streak. That's right. We'll call 2 in a row a winning streak. The Nuggets playing without Jamal Murray and not knowing when they will get Jamal Murray back are struggling. The Nuggets' schedule coming up, they have to play at the Kings. Then they play that game against the Grizzlies. Then the last game of the year is going to be at the Rockets. Now, the Rockets are not going to have anything to play for in that final game. Almost certainly. I'm not sure if they're clinched or not. I think they might have clinched the two. They haven't, but more than likely they're going to be clinched before the final game. So if the Nuggets go 1-2, that's obviously great for the Grizzlies. We can see the Nuggets really surprisingly slide all the way into the play-in. Basically, you have the Warriors, Grizzlies, Clippers, Timberwolves, Nuggets, and you have those 5 teams. They're going to finish in some order 4th through 8th. And I think if you can win 3 of those games, your odds of being in the top 6, finishing 4th, 5th, or 6th are quite good, which is very encouraging. Winning that Pistons game, yeah, you caught a break with no Jalen Duren, but also being able to get that win when you yourself didn't have Ja Morant, that was a huge win for the Grizzlies. Now they've set themselves up for hopefully avoiding the play-in, but we will see what happens in these upcoming games. Anyways, that is all I have for today. I hope I'll have a new episode out on Wednesday. If not, it'll be out shortly thereafter. Anyways, if you want to support my show, get some bonus content, join my Slack channel. If you want to sign up before the playoffs to get involved with our Stone Cold Locks Playoff Challenge, which is a lot of fun, you can do all of that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, hope you guys have a great Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.